Spawning down in the bottom left-hand position of Derelict Watcher, we have got the red Zerg player from Team Acer, Nerchio. And his opponent, up in the top right, playing as the teal Zerg player representing Core EU, Mr. JonnyREcco. Whoop de whoop. So, as this stands, everything is going to be quite cool. I'm excited to see exactly what's going to be going down. JonnyREcco, in game number 1, of course, was ultra aggressive. He was just like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you hard. Unfortunately, Nerchio was like, I'm going to survive this. And then counterattack. And then, unfortunately, Rico had nothing to fall back on and died. He didn't even die, actually. He fell on his sword, knowing that his all-in did not work. And so he conceded defeat. This game thinks totally different, though. JonnyREcco has not gone for a temple, which is a pretty big difference in playstyle. Obviously, his tournament life on the line. You don't really want to be losing out to too early all-ins, especially when Nerchio defended the first one very confidently. JonnyREcco going pretty much the complete opposite way now, chucking down a hatchery first. Very bold move. Meanwhile, Nerchio starts off with a pull, goes 15 pull, 15 gas, just as we've seen him do most games today in ZvZ. Seems to be an effective build, lets him defend against lots of stuff, gets speed out early. So, this is now looking a bit more of a macro-orientated game for the time being. Whether it stays that way, you never know with ZvZ. The beauty and curse of the lava mechanic is things can look all fine and dandy, and then suddenly there's speedlings and banelings in your base and you're scared for your dear life. Yeah, that's pretty much how it can go down. Alternatively, they could both be very passive. We saw Nerchio do that against Slivko in his first game today. They both went up to Mutalisks really quick. The win didn't actually involve those Mutalisks though, which was quite funny, but no, all going good for the moment. They are both looking to be playing it a lot more safe. Nerchio getting down a pair of lings just to go and scout out. Drone count currently in JonnyREcco's favour, and that's because he's not going for this gas. Getting that gas a little bit later just means Rico's got a bit more comfort. Also, Rico managed to skip those first 2 lings, which is fine. He sees a couple of lings coming out now, but confirms that the natural expansion is there. Nerchio, for the moment, has just gone in, knows that it was a hatch first from Rico because of the fact that the creep spread already coming out, and therefore pulls back with his Overlord just so it doesn't accidentally get sniped down by a queen. So, these lings just going to go and confirm additional scouting information such as, is speed on its way? Are drones still in gas? Has a baneling nest been thrown down? The kind of big important questions you need to know at the start of a ZvZ. JonnyREcco, not too worried about getting too much more scouting down. Interesting overall placement. Should be able to see straight away when things come out. He's also going to be able to see if a drone tries to slip its way around into the third. That's why he's positioned it over here as opposed to here, which would be better for seeing, obviously, when lings came out. The downside to this positioning, though, is that there is a small area where lings could sneak out round the back, but Nerchio hasn't really shown too much fondness of doing that as of yet. Except this game, he is going to be going for a speedling all-in. So, banking up those speedlings at the back. It may not be an all-in as of yet, but it's very likely. JonnyREcco trying to get one Zergling up there if he didn't. Okay, now he knows. Sees a lot of Zerglings. Back at home, he's got a baneling nest nearly done. He's got 2 queens down. The 2 queens need to go on the ramp. He needs to keep a couple of Zerglings alive in order to make them into banelings. And Rico shouldn't now lose to this. Shouldn't. It's still an ask not to, but as long as these banelings are alive and he gets a relatively good detonation, it's all fine. These drones do need to be a bit more careful though. Currently pulling back, they should be able to mineral walk their way through past the queens. The important thing though is just that the hatchery stays down. The queen's coming forward, banelings coming from all angles. One good detonation will shut it down. Manual detonation there. Only manages to get 2 lings, but it does scare away Nerchio for the moment, knowing banelings are down. JonnyREcco up by 2 workers since Nerchio has been droning heavily behind this. And well, this is now where we need to try and see if Rico is going to be able to go for a counterattack or if he's just going to try and hold the defense. Needs to be careful not to overproduce Zerglings at the moment though, because Nerchio isn't actually following this up with more pressure as we know, but JonnyREcco doesn't know that yet, but luckily just matching the number of Zerglings, has a couple of defensive banelings of his own, but he's actually waddling them across the map, going for a little bit of counter aggression. Baneling Nest for Nerchio is on its way for the moment. Zerglings, though, are going to make their way back in. There's a defensive Baneling for Rico, though, which should help deter too much more pressure. A couple of Lings will die, but JonnyREcco going in with more pressure at the moment. He's got 3 Banelings up, 2 more waddling forward. If he gets one good detonation, it could be a massive amount of problems for Nerchio. Defensive Banelings for the Acer player coming through. Manual detonation, second one a bit better. JonnyREcco up in the Lin count currently, but reinforcements will come and fix that. Rico retreats, but he did get a single queen kill, putting Nerchio down to just 1 queen, hurting his inject cycles, but that's only a problem if JonnyREcco doesn't take any damage from this big flood of Lings. But considering Rico does have a defensive Baneling and is morphing more in, I'm not too concerned. The big concern for Nerchio, though, is the fact that the Spire is coming down for Rico, which he doesn't even know about yet. He doesn't know that the lair is down. He has seen that the 3rd and 4th gas are in the process of being taken, and therefore can assume that there probably is going to be a Spire on its way. So we very well may see a couple of Spine Callers get thrown down, and that wouldn't be a bad choice in any way, or at least something sacrificed into the main base of Rico to get the scout down. So Rico is going to go and try and take up his 3rd base. This is critically important for him, getting down those Mutalisks early. He needs these additional gas geysers in order to help his income. What he's got to be very careful of, though, is how aggressive the Speedlings could be at this stage. Rico just scouted in. He has got a great look at the natural base, but not at the main, so isn't aware that the lair has only just finished and the Spire only just started. About an 80-second advantage there currently for the core EU player. That's going to allow his Mutalisks a lot of time on the map, and also a good amount of time to do stuff with them and get a higher number of Mutalisks out. If he can actually do something to really deter this 3rd base as well, that'd be even better for him. But Nerchio is fully on the mark. He sees everything. We've got the +1 flyer attack coming down too, and that is another big advantage for JonnyREcco here. But lots of Banelings are down for Nerchio at the moment. If he gets a good detonation, it will be problematic. Johnny, though, realizes that he's ahead in the Ling count and goes for the engagement. He's also got some defensive Banelings back at home, and this is still tense times, because while Mutalisks are now hitting the field, there's only a couple of them. Picking off Banelings is the best thing these Mutalisks can be doing at the moment. Stopping the Baneling play is huge. It suddenly means that Rico has the ability to use Zerglings and Banelings, whereas Nerchio only has those Lings, really stopping any more ground pressure. Of course, the armor upgrades for these Mutalisks is a massive advantage too. Already 70 seconds up. Nerchio starts 9 Mutalisks of his own, but every second that goes by he doesn't get that carapace upgrade, the worse trades will be. Not to mention the fact that Rico already has those 10 Mutalisks on the field and they are doing damage. So JonnyREcco looking to have at least a 100-second advantage in that +1 carapace. Interestingly, getting down Ventral Sacs as well. That's Overlord drop tech for those who don't know. And that's going to allow some very interesting plays. I'm very excited to see what he's actually going to be doing with that. But for the moment, things still looking fairly interesting, because Johnny has got a pretty substantial lead. Yes, he's a bit down in workers, but he's supply blocked Nerchio for the moment, who's still not got any more production coming through. He's managed to completely stop Baneling play from the Acer player, just due to his Mutalisk being out, but he is still taking damage, losing drones on that gas, which is not what you want. But the +1 carapace about to kick in, a couple of these Mutalisks getting very low. One needs to die though, because otherwise they will just regenerate up their health. Rico pushing forward, Mutalisk count 11 on both sides, but that +1 carapace done for Rico, and still not even started for Nerchio. Add in the fact the +1 flyer attack is coming down too. This is a massive Mutalisk upgrade lead. I'm very concerned for Nerchio at the moment and what he's going to do. You do see an engagement come down here. The Mutalisk count is in Nerchio's favour, and the fact that he's going to have Zerglings underneath to soak up some of those bouncing glaives will help too. Rico has to retreat because numbers still are very important in these engagements, and really the 3 factors that decide which way a muta on muta battle go are who has the more Mutalisks, who has Zerglings underneath to soak up the damage of bouncing glaives, and who has the better upgrades. Nerchio now realizing he doesn't have that +1 flyer carapace started, but that is such a long way away. There's still going to be a minute in game where JonnyREcco's at 1-1 Mutalisks compared to Nerchio's 0-0. So a 4th base trying to come down here. Unfortunately, Mutalisks of Rico are going to shut down any attempt to deny it. Nerchio should go and look to take his own fourth relatively soon. He does need those gases. Obviously makes a big difference in terms of how many Mutalisks he can get out. Mutalisk does go down there for Nerchio. JonnyREcco now taking a nice 4 Mutalisk lead as well as that upgrade lead, which is very powerful. But 6 more on the way out for Nerchio at the moment. Drone count 79 to 72 in JonnyREcco's favour. He needs these additional gases as fast as he can, and he needs to really fix the supply block that he's got himself into. But 3 Overlords on the way through, that's going to remedy that nice and fast. Mutalisks still being very active around the map. Watchtowers being held as really contested because they give a lot of information about where the Mutalisks are going. But for the moment, Nerchio just still dancing around, trying to find anywhere he can get a good engagement, adding in a couple of banelings to the mix, and I like that. A few good baneling detonations allow you to take control of the ground. And as previously mentioned, taking control of the ground allows really your Mutalisks to take less damage because your opponent's Mutalisks are hitting some of their bouncing glaives on those ground units. But Rico has an awful lot of lings coming across the map at the moment. Both players' supply very equal, but JonnyREcco slightly up now in the army supply count. So that means that a few more workers are there for Nerchio. But we do have an engagement now. JonnyREcco fighting over some Zerglings. +1 carapace not yet in effect for Nerchio. And even when it does kick in, obviously +1 attack is there for JonnyREcco. He's winning this Mutalisk fight massively, simultaneously tearing through the natural. GG is called. And JonnyREcco's levels up this series 1-1.